Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi there. Welcome to the 77th episode of A Couple Takes on MS. Hi, this is Dan Digman.
And hi, it's me, Jennifer Digman.
Well, welcome to this if you haven't listened to us before, and if you have heard, you can hear this again, but we are A Couple Takes on MS, and I have been living with multiple sclerosis for about 20 years.
And I'm a little over 22 years. Wow, time flies.
And speaking of time flying, we are a couple. We've got married, it'll be 14 years ago this September. And so we've been married, and with this, because I have relapsing remitting MS.
And my MS is now secondary progressive.
And so with this, we talk about things, life, living, whatnot, with multiple sclerosis, but from different perspectives. As a man with relapsing remitting MS.
And me as a woman with secondary progressive MS who is no longer walking or working, and just the different perspectives of a man and a woman, and just different forms of the disease.
And what we're looking at today that we struggle with, I mean personally, and it's just a question of how do you know your limits, and when is it okay to stop? Because we talk about multiple sclerosis and the issues with fatigue and how you do this, but at the same time you can't not do anything, because once you stop moving, you stop moving.
Well, and I've often heard the expression, use it or lose it, and sadly that is, I think it holds true for multiple sclerosis. And it's not always that you have a choice. It's not like I just said, oh, I don't really feel like using my legs, and then poof, they went away. I think all of us who are dealing with mobility impairments, we work as long and as hard as we can to keep our health, and that's a limit that, is something we have to consider. Are we doing too much? Are we at the detriment of our health? And we need to know our limits.
And so what we're talking about then, and we'll say it straight up, let us know and check in with us. What do you do? How do you know when you've hit your limit, or how do you pace yourself? Look us up. Our website is danandjenniferdigman.com, or on Twitter at danjendig. And just let us know, when do you know? Give us tips. Help other people so they learn their limits. I think our problem is we don't know when to stop, and we push ourselves to the point of total exhaustion.
I think we're getting better, and I imagine those of you out there listening, whether you're a person living with MS or you're a caregiver, or just a person in general, I think it is hard to know your limits. Certainly with this darn disease, it's hard to say no, because I think we don't want to let MS win. So we want to be as active and as involved as possible. So it's important to know your limit. I was telling Dan, like a perfect example was this past weekend. We went to a dear friend of ours' son's high school graduation party, but we also were dog sitting for another dear friend of ours, and so we knew we had a window of 4 hours. We had to get back to take care of the dog, but we also wanted to go to the open house, which is like a graduation party. And so had we not had that 4-hour limit, don't you think we would have maybe...
We would have stayed, because the reality was the open house was like an hour and 15 minutes away. So we had to drive to get there and then drive back home, obviously. And I think had we not had to come home to watch the dog, yeah, we probably would have stayed, probably overstayed our welcome at said open house.
Or our bodies welcome, like, you guys get your butts in the car, go home. But because we had this responsibility and we set a time for ourselves, we didn't overdo it. And yes, it was a combined total, like almost 3 hour drive. I wasn't exhausted the next day. I don't feel like we overdid it. Did you?
No, and I think that I don't think we overdid it, and I think that you say as far as what we've done or just things, the longer I've lived with multiple sclerosis, the better I am at managing it. I think managing my fatigue levels in terms of the amount of things that I do, but I think that more often than not, I push myself to the point of exhaustion because sometimes do you, as a person with multiple sclerosis, when you are feeling good, tend to overdo it because like, oh my gosh, because I know I could feel like crap tomorrow. I need to make the most of today, and then you just do, and then...
I see this as like a teeter-totter where I feel good today, so I'm really high, I feel fantastic. But then the next day I'm like smashing into the ground like you overdid it. And even after living with the disease for 22 years, I still can't find that perfect balance on like scales. Maybe a scale is a better thing, the scales of justice or something. But I think that's hard, and you said that you're better at it. Is it because you've lived with the disease as long as you have, or is it just simply that we're older than we used to be?
Potentially a bit of both.
With age comes wisdom.
Truly, it does. I think that
on certain days.
Yeah, you think about it. So because then my fear is, okay, if I push myself past my limit and I wipe myself out for the next 2 days, I always feel, well, at least I had it. I know I had it coming because I overdid it and I know it. There's been times where I've stopped short of wearing myself out saying, oh, I don't want to be tired. But then for the next 2 days, I'm really tired and then I'm kicking myself that I should have I should have done more when I felt good.
Isn't that the rub of multiple sclerosis, is you're always, unfortunately, second guessing yourself. But I would like to think, that those days where you're second guessing yourself and kicking yourself that you should have done more are more few and far between than they were when you were first diagnosed. Do you think that's fair to say?
I think it's very fair to say. I think that with time, and that's where if you are newly diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, it truly is every day is an experiment. Mm-hmm. If I can say that, or every new endeavor, it's like, where can I go with this? How much can I do? What are my limits? And I don't want to pull in the college alcohol try and stuff, but you need to experiment to know what your limits are. And
I think that's fair to say. And you also, know your body. But maybe it's one of the benefits of an online support group or an in-person support group, just to talk with other people to learn some of those triggers. Excessive heat could maybe make you more tired, or not getting enough rest, or not using the best diet. So to learn those things help, but so you don't have to do the college thing where you find out, oh, I overdid it. You can learn from other people, but I think to know your limits is like a never-ending battle.
Well, that's where we talk with this as far as living with multiple sclerosis for as long as we have. We're still learning it. I think that, and because with age, with, disease progression and everything, our bodies, our time, our energies, everything's is changing
And it's
perpetually.
and it's changing, but I feel pretty confident. I think you would agree. Don't always blame it on MS. That it's really easy when you're first diagnosed, or even still if you're living, you've been living with the disease for a while, it's really easy to say, oh, this is my multiple sclerosis. But Dan has always pointed out, rightfully so, and I appreciate it, don't always blame everything on MS. You could have slept poorly, you could have overdone it, and it's not your disease progressing, it's just you need to respect the limits of your life and be realistic. I'm not as young as I used to be, so things do tire me out a little bit more, and I have been living with the disease for as long as I have, so I have to be honest and I have to take a good look at myself.
I think it also helps to give yourself a break and not judge yourself. I think that one of the things we had talked about was we live in Michigan and my family is back in Iowa, and so we go and we see my family, once a year. We drive out there. Not that we're rationed or have limits on how often I can see my family, but for us to make that drive, because it, when all is said and done, it averages out to be about 10 hour drive, which isn't bad, but think of what that does to you as a person living with multiple sclerosis, and it's just the two of us in the van driving. So
and all of the driving commitment is on you, Dan, because I no longer drive.
And I still have to be able to help, we still have to be able to stop and go to the bathroom and everything, make transfers. And I think that what we've learned, again, this comes with age, experimentation, knowing your limits of what you can and can't do. It's not, it takes a lot, but I mean, to drive back to Iowa, the cool thing about driving back to Iowa is you gain an hour.
God bless the time zone.
And then there's always that level of adrenaline that this is new and we're going to get there. We're going to see my family. We're going to spend time with everyone. But then there's the drive home from Iowa back to Michigan, and it's amazing how much that 1 hour makes such a huge difference.
And keep in mind that week that you've spent with your family, how tired you get.
And you're so exhausted because you don't sleep as much or as well, because when you're there, you're seeing family, you're doing and blah, 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 and eating and everything.
Constantly. You don't have that downtime that you take for granted when you're at your own house.
And so what we've learned in probably the last 3-4 years, we no longer make the trip back to Michigan in one day. We don't make hotel reservations for the drive back. We just drive until we're tired.
Until you naturally feel tired. Because I remember we made a hotel reservation and, we'll get there. But to get there, we may have been tired. And we were like, actually, we need to stop now. Or we'll make a hotel reservation. We're like, no, we feel good. Let's go on further. And so we just kind of naturally, when we get tired, we stop and try and get a hotel room, which may sound risky to some people, but if you're on a major highway, major expressway, there's normally some good places where we can stop. But to that token, or to that topic, we used to go to Iowa for Easter. And we always questioned the weather. Will there be snow? Will Chicago be wintry nightmare? And then we realized, instead of dealing with the weather, let's take that factor out of the equation and let's go at
4th of July.
4th of July, when the weather is nicer. I mean, granted, it is the Midwest, so sometimes there are tornadoes or storms that we're facing and warm weather, but just that little switch, we don't have to pack winter coats and sweaters and things like that. We can take our cooler or our warm weather clothes that are a little less packing involved, and we don't have to stress about what the weather is like. We know it's probably going to be pretty good. We don't have salted roads and ice and snow to think about.
And so that comes with the age, and that's where we knew that's where we hit our limits. It's like we no longer could make that drive back to Iowa at Easter for, during winter months. That's just too much. I mean, to make stop for bathroom breaks when we're wearing coats and everything. That's how we knew our limits, but it took time.
And it would have added, it would have added to the stress. I mean, granted, you're going to see family and it's going to be a good trip. But instead of having those little stressors, we just said, no, it's not worth it. And fortunately, our family understood, and we've been able to accommodate that way. So I suppose maybe that's a limit that it's important to know, is how can you make whatever situation you're facing, what are the constraints or the things that you have to think about? I think that's why it's really important to plan and to do a little homework about whatever you're trying to accomplish.
And I think that comes in with as far as fatigue levels and pushing ourselves to the limits. It takes with the planning is the prioritizing. And it's like, what do we have to get done? How much energy do I need? Do I have? Get the have to do things done first. Then you can coast through the rest. I think I look at when we talk about just within the day, we know that if we're showering, we have to get up, have to have the energy to shower, but also know that I need the energy to work a full-time job during the day. And so where does that break point? How does that decipher and distinguish what more I can do during the day or in the evening?
And that's why it's really important to be honest and thorough with your calendar. If Dan and I look at the calendar and say, oh, we've got a really busy weekend, then we're going to make some adjustments. We can save up our energy so that we have a little gas in our proverbial tank to enjoy what we were planning on doing for the weekend. So that's something that helps us know our limit, is just looking ahead, looking at what we have to do, what we value, like you said, what our priorities are. So I think that helps us to know our limit. But it's also, as much as you have to know your limit, you have to know when you overdo your limit. Take and analyze what you did. If you're feeling like poop, figure out why are you feeling that way. In addition to having a chronic illness, is there something that you can maintain or get rid of, try and lighten the load for yourself?
And then look and say, okay, well, this is what I did. It's like, don't do it again. I think that, the one thing too, and this is where, they always talk about this is, I'm pulling things from other experiences, but I know that when when I'm doing the college marketing and everything, and there was always a thing in encouraging students to get involved, to do things. And it's like the more involved you are, it may seem overwhelming, but it certainly forces you to be efficient with your time. And so with that, I think maybe that's why I book or get really busy, because it's like then all of a sudden if I had 5 hours to write a blog, to write an essay, I would use the 5 hours and waste a lot of time as I'm like trying to come up with the perfect intro, the perfect lead and stuff. Whereas if you told me I only had 2 hours to write it, then you just put it out there, be done with it. And so I think the more stuff we have to do, then the more efficient we are with our time. And I think that's
I think that's a good point. It's just, if you want to do a lot of things, I remember being a kid in school, in grade school or junior high. If you want to go out with your friends, if you want to go to the mall, way back in the day,
Way back in the day with the
I'm
mall.
not dating myself too much, but if you want to go to the mall, you have to have your homework done. Well, like us, we wanted to go to Brendan's open house graduation party, but we also had a commitment to watch Breslin, the dog. And so it was like, how are we going to do this? We were efficient. We got our stuff done. We got, we really took advantage of the time. And we set limits on ourselves, which is something we as people living with MS or any sort of chronic illness, you need to set limits. You need to know your limits, but you also have to enforce some of the limits yourself. Like Dan will often say, oh, we could have one more drink when we're out at a social thing. Or I'll say, oh, Dan, I could watch one more TV show. It won't hurt too much in the morning. But then you get up in the morning and you're like, dang it, that was really dumb. Don't do that again. So
Well, yeah, because you think like what has to get done or
Mm-hmm.
what we always talk like, come tomorrow, what would we regret more? Would we regret that we didn't stay at said social event longer, or will we regret that we did stay longer? You just say, you weigh those options. And I think that's what really multiple sclerosis has for, I don't want to give credit to the disease, but I mean, it certainly has forced us to take a good hard look at what we do, how we do it, because we know we feel the impact of it if we overdo it.
Well, and I think personally, asking for help, really, to know if you're getting close to your limit, when Dan is really tired, and instead of just pushing through by himself, he'll say, hey, Jen, if you could help me do this. Or I ask, we have friends, and say, okay, we can't do this tonight. Can we rain check it? Because we really want to participate. Can we move the event? Or can we do it another time? Because we know our bodies and we know what could happen, and I guess that's finding your limits, like you were saying.
Well, and it's like, when do you know when to ask for help? And I think like last night, actually it was supposed to be for tonight.
Yes.
I was supposed to have a church meeting. Yes.
Yes.
I was supposed to have a church meeting tonight, but I then also was supposed to have some work done for said church committee meeting. And I know how the committee is, and I know the work we're doing, and I know there wasn't anything that urgent. And so I just sent an email because I'm like, could I do it? Yes, I could get the work done and do the meeting, but we had other meetings planned. It was just a simple email, and it wasn't a question of, oh, I have multiple sclerosis, I'm tired. I mean, again, not blaming VMS for everything or making it about multiple sclerosis, because you have to look at like any person who doesn't have MS would be exhausted with this. And I'm just like, do we really have to meet tomorrow, or could we push this? And I dare say that everybody on the committee was celebrating themselves, because did they really want to have another meeting because we had yet another church meeting tomorrow night? So it's just like, let's just pace ourselves. And I think it's just ask the questions. It's like, don't blame the disease. It's just like, these are just realities that anyone is dealing with.
And it's right now, it's almost summer, and it's busy time for most everyone. So when you ask, like you said, Dan, don't say, oh, because of my MS, I don't think that I can do this. Just be honest and say, I think that doing this would tire me out. I don't know about any of you, but can we push this for a week later? So I don't think that asking for help or asking for some concessions, that any of us would do that. And that's a place where we have to remember we're all going through something, whether you are living with a chronic disease or you're a caregiver or something. Everybody's got something. So I think if we're a little bit more comfortable asking for help, in the same way, being a little more tolerant with people that do ask for help, that really can help lighten the load and make living a little more reasonable.
Well, it's just like sharing the wealth, and I think, or sharing the load, really. And I know that what always helps me is thinking I will ask you for help, and other people, in the sense that I know that if you asked me for help, I would help you. And so I think it's just like, it's the reality. We need to be more willing as people living with multiple sclerosis, just ask people, our friends, our companions, whoever, for the help, because its reality is I would help you if you asked. So
I should help you when you ask.
it's like returning the favors.
And we're not in this alone. And that's an important thing to remember always, is that none of us are facing multiple sclerosis or any chronic illness by ourselves. And you can always reach out their support, whether it's online or in person. So I think you need to know your limits, respect your limits, and be able to ask for help.
And in doing that, it's just a matter of experimenting, giving things a try, and we learn, and that's I suppose is a lesson in life, is truly we're all learning things as we go.
And nobody has this perfect. It's a messy disease, and there are a lot of bumps in the road, but the road's easier when we travel it together.
So thank you all again for taking the time to listen to us. Look us up on our website, danandjenniferdigman.com, or on Twitter @DanJenDig, and just let us know, how do you know when you're at your limits and how do you push it? Thanks again for Blue Draft Kid for composing the music to our show, and thanks for the MS&Me Radio Network for having us along. Take care.